You may be wondering, how is it that we can take one single, simple class and make so many different characters from it? Well, the short answer is polymorphism. The long answer is to explain what polymorphism is. Literally meaning many forms, polymorphism is the principle that gives classes in object-oriented programming the ability to create the same type of object, just with different variations. One way to think of polymorphism is like this. Say you have a sweet 4K TV, and coming out of that TV is an HDMI cable. Now, the other end of the HDMI cable could connect to a cable box or a computer, or it could connect to a video game console. But no matter what's plugged in on the other end, the TV is going to be a TV, displaying whatever signal that it gets sent to it. So, you can say that the home entertainment setup is an example of polymorphism, because while it can take many forms, the end result is that there's a picture on the screen. Now let's see how that applies to object-oriented programming. Here we have an elf, which, as we know, started its journey to elfness by going through the player class, the elf class, and finally to the upgrade elf class. And yes, some decisions were made along the way, including but not limited to his hair color and what type of attack that he would use. So that's how we got here. But we just as easily could have gotten to here. Or here. Heck, we could have even gotten to here. Because of polymorphism, we can make these different elves from the same class. And we know that no matter what, that elf is going to work properly in our game, without having to change any of the game's code. It doesn't matter what color hair that elf has or what kind of weapon he has, he's still going to work. Here's a funny thing about polymorphism though. It means many forms, and it can take many forms. This is one way that polymorphism works. Now let's look at another. Right now, this elf uses a bow for his attack. But why can't we use an attack from another type of character, like an orc's club? Wouldn't that work? Well, yes, it would. The same way that we can insert any character into the game and still have it run without any problem, we could also give any character any kind of attack, and the character would still be playable. It would be terrible storytelling. I mean, how many elves do you see running around with clubs? But it is technically possible. The way that we prevent that is called overloading. What overloading lets us do is take one behavior, attack in this case, but depending on the type of characters we have, limit them to only having certain attacks available. It's a lot like how some words are spelled the same, but based on context can mean something completely different. Like how bark can either mean what a dog does or what's on a tree. So because of overloading, if we have an elf, our choices for attack are limited to a bow or swords. But if we really wanted to, we can make it possible for an elf to use any kind of attack. See? No crashes. Why? Because to the game, it doesn't matter what type of attack is used, so long as when the player hits the attack button, some kind of attack happens. The takeaways for this lesson are: polymorphism means many forms, and is what allows one class to make different variations of the same object. Polymorphism is also what allows us to replace one type of character for another without having to change any of the game's code. They can just be swapped out. Overloading lets us use one behavior across many different classes, but depending on the class, have that behavior mean something different. And as always, don't forget to check out the quiz at the end.